Okay, let me start slowly. So we put the title graduation on time with quality outcomes. Particularly our main focus is actually with the PhD graduation, PhD students. But this also means for master students as well. As you know, the graduation on time is an important aspect. So when I was in University of Malaya, we always had these types of topic seminar that so the students can complete their thesis on time, because it is very important. Once you, as a student, you can finish your master's, PhD, actually you can enter into your career life, you can enter into a job. So completing in time is very important for your academic life, for your future career. At the same time, if it is not properly planned, sometimes I have seen it takes 15 years. I remember when I was in University of Malaya, one students from neighboring countries of Malaysia took 15 or 16 years. So as you can see, this is really not a good thing. And also, as an academician, as a researcher, our resources are also limited. So that's why I think the graduation on time is very important for many reasons. Second part is you see the quality. So graduation on time does not, it's also important that quality aspect, as you know, in our academic life, it is very important. Just not only the numbers, not only publishing thesis, because it is very important for our life. When we recruit our research fellow, our PhD students also for scholarship, we can see sometimes they are not well trained. They are, even though they got the degree, thesis, a paper, but questions, they cannot conduct research. So in our center also many times we recruited some staff. We also conduct interview. We see sometimes that they have a paper, they have a certificate, but they cannot speak well, they cannot interpret the results. So that's why I think that quality is very important. So that's why our focus will be here, the how to write, how to graduate on time with the quality. It's not only graduation only, how you can write a good quality thesis, high quality thesis that can be considered as a distinction, and particularly with some high quality journal papers. So before graduation, actually you need a lot of, need to fulfill a lot of requirement. So those are, we call it the university requirements. So at Sunway, we have some requirement. If you are at some other universities in Malaysia, there are always some of the requirement. For example, one of the important requirement in some universities are you need to publish Scopus Index journals or ISI Index journals, 1, 2. There are certain number of journals you need to publish. Again, to me, this is very important because this also helps you to be a well-trained, and by writing actually paper, by publishing paper, actually you are you will be an innovative researcher. Your results will be good. So this shows that you are also well-trained. So this is also one of the requirements, and that part I think Dr. Adarsh will be covering, how to write good quality journal papers. I also will focus, but this will be my experience. Progress report. So once you enroll for your master's, PhD, after some time, you need to submit your progress report. Committees, universities want to see how you are progressing. How is your design of your experiment? How is your objectives? How is your critical review of literature? I mean, is there any good progress or there is no progress at all? Because if these are not ensured at the initial stage for first 6 months, 7 months, or 8 months, actually it will delay your subsequent activities. So these are also part of your requirement. You have to submit your progress report. Sometimes it is also called candidature defense. So in different universities, it calls in different way. You also need to attend, or you need to get results, satisfactory results on research methodology. This is in our PhD also we cover. I think for higher study, this is a requirement in Malaysian context. Research methodology is a necessary subject you need to go through. Sometimes once you are going to be graduated in some universities, there is a requirement that you need to give a seminar. It is similar like when you attend a conference. you give a presentation. So it is similar like for your PhD thesis, for your master's thesis, you want to share your findings, your outcomes, and also you want to get some feedback from your friends, colleagues, other researchers also can have a look, can give some feedback, because this is also part of examination process. So candidature defense, I think I will be focusing mostly on this candidature defense, because Prof. Khairuddin will be talking about the writing thesis and Dr. Adarsh on writing journal paper. So my focus will be candidature defense. And then you see in this, as I mentioned also, this is not undergraduate work. Undergraduate work is basically examination process of your coursework, but in this case, it is mostly research, apart from little bit sometimes coursework. So this examination process is different than our coursework. So it has to go through examination process like external and internal examination process of your thesis. So this is important aspect. So this idea is also through our presentation, actually, if we can share you how to write a good thesis, what's the important elements. These are the things basically the examiners, internal examiners, external examiners will be looking for. Basically, this will help you to write a good thesis so that your comments will be from the examiners will be very, very less. And you also need to go through a viva process. So if you are well prepared from the very beginning with all the necessary requirement, how to write a good thesis, how to publish in good quality journals, how to defend your candidature defense professionally, appropriately, and there will be, during the viva, there will be presentation, there will be questioning, answering. So if you know all these things, what I feel that you can be well prepared for your PhD and master degree. Okay, and also I think the content similarity, these are very important aspect in our thesis writing, publication writing. So certain threshold below should be there so that it is not excessively copy and paste from other sources. So this is a small matter. You can learn all these things as you will be progressing. So these are some of the things also, since I supervise, I'm also supervised. So what are some of the expectations from supervisors? Normally, students should be very sincere, responsive, not lazy, doing activities in time, always cooperative with the supervisors, and particularly PhD masters, this higher studies basically should be more on independent work. With minimum guidance, minimum supervision, actually, you can produce good quality data, you can design your experiment, you can critically analyze your results and discussion. So that is basically one of the important aspects. Basically, you will get a best training through this process. Try to understand actually what is the expectation from the supervisor. This is very important. What is their expectation in terms of, in my view, if since I'm the supervisor, my expectation always will be a good quality thesis, a good quality number of paper, at least 2 or 3 good quality papers. Okay, not my personal thing, not something that is not relevant with my academic aspect. Of course, through this also I'll be training my students also for some leadership capabilities, some communication skills, some teamwork skill, all these things also I will be expecting, so that they are also following all those things. For example, Kalidasan is our PhD student, so we engage him here so that he also can learn the leadership or communication skill or team building skills. So that's why we are engaging Kalidasan and some of his team members. As you can see, Hazim is also our PhD students. So we are engaging them in these types of organizations so that when they finish, they also can speak, they also can organize these types of things, so that some management, some teamwork, some communication skill also they can learn, because these are some of the soft skills also necessary, because these are also part of your PhD master's work, and when you are going to present, when you are going to share. So I think these are the things also important. So try to understand what is the expectation of the supervisor. So always mind map, try to gauge actually what are the things supervisor is expecting. So communication skill is very important. So I'll not be talking much about these things. So that's why improving language, understanding, communicating with the supervisors, editors, reviewers, examiners is really very, very important. So this slide is basically very important. So we are talking about the quality outcome. So as you can see, when you have your draft paper and thesis, basically it may contain a lot of error, mistakes, organizations, novelty may not be there, maybe there, it is not properly written, language is poor, organization is poor. So many things that's what we are going to share actually will be ensured by these people. So you see that when your paper is ready, thesis is ready, you need to go through examination process to ensure your quality. So as you can see, there are reviewers, there are examiners, there are panel members. So during the PhD and Master Viva, normally there will be a panel where there will be a chairman, there can be head of the department, there can be dean, there can be program coordinator, internal members, external members. So this is called the evaluation panel members. They will be asking different types of questions, starting from layman's type question to very technical, in-depth question. So idea is to ensure the quality, as you can see. So you have to pass through all these processes. So it is not an easy task. So when I was, I submitted my thesis, master's thesis to my supervisor at the initial stage. He was very unhappy and he said that thesis writing is not good. So I was very much worried, and then I started to get some good quality thesis, try to compare my thesis and content of all those theses published in ProQuest, North American good quality thesis. So after going through a number of theses, actually, I could see that what's the lacking in my thesis. So as I highlighted, all these are to ensure the quality of your thesis, quality of your paper, quality of your proposal, quality of your report. Okay, as a result, you are well trained, and when you will be in our position as a lecturer, academician, basically you know all this process, and you can also supervise students so that they also can produce a good quality thesis. This is basically the overall examination process, quality ensuring process, or we also call it peer review process. Okay, so now I'll be focusing on candidature defense. This is normally after registration, in some cases after 6 months or 8 months, after certain period of time, basically you need to prepare a report. Sometimes you need to present in the form of a presentation. Your content need to be submitted to the similar like the examination process, but it is not that rigorous because this is after 6 months, meaning that you have done some studies on your thesis content and you are going to present, and committee member actually will try to see whether you are in right track or not. Because as you know, sometimes if all these are not monitored, not ensured, sometimes students feel reluctant and they become lazy and they're not doing anything. And then I think it is a great loss. It is not a good thing for the university, for the students. So I think it is a very good approach to keep students in right track, right position, so that his design, his or her design is appropriate, his thesis is going well, his methodology is well. So he has very good plan, and he has done some of his component of his thesis in a proper way. Okay, so basically it will have a title. So that's why I also will share how to write a good title. It also has a component, an abstract, summary, introduction part will be there, literature part, design of experiment, project planning, timeline, preliminary results, references. So here you see we write it here, preliminary results. So within this 6 months, it may not be possible to produce preliminary results, but in some cases, it may be, because if everything is ready, supervisor is ready, even after getting the offer, student is very active, they already started something, and immediately after joining, they started the experiment. So maybe some results probably possible, but it is not mandatory elements. Overall, the committee will be looking for all these things are in proper way. I mean, you are progressing in a right direction, proper way. So all these things will be ensured. So these are the things now I'm going to talk a little bit. But these things also, I think, because title, abstract, introduction, all these for component of a thesis, component of paper. So as I mentioned, Prof. Khairuddin also will share, others also will be sharing, but again, our uniqueness, I have my own style, Prof. Khairuddin may have some his own style and uniqueness. So those are the things basically will be shared. And in my view, when things are repeated, talk again and again, I think that becomes more effective for the students. So if we go through only once, some of the content actually we forget many things. So in one sense, I feel it is also good if we repeat all these things again and again. It will be good for you to retain in your memory. So title is actually normally as an examiner, as a supervisor, I can see that there are in most cases comments on title, because if you are not well trained, sometimes you write a title is too lengthy, it does not reflect content. Basically, you did not think properly, or maybe you also have not published any paper, but at this initial stage, I think when you are going to give a candidature defense, in that case, I think you also don't have enough experience to write a good title. So that's why I think this our sharing experience will help you to write a good title, not only for candidature defense, I think for your thesis, final thesis, for writing paper, for writing proposal, research grant, for many purposes. Actually, this our presentation is not only for thesis, actually, it will serve many other purposes, because once you will finish your degree, actually, you have to write proposal, you have to write report. So in every aspect, basically, these are the most important elements: title, abstract, summary, introduction, literature review, methodology. These are actually the part and parcel of your academic writings. Okay, so normally a title is also good. A good title is also important to attract potential readers. You know, the participants, audience. At the end, they will use your paper. They will cite your paper. So I think for citation impact also, this good title is also important. So what we practice, as you know, I have supervised so many students. I can see sometimes how students come out with the title without thinking. Those are the things basically I have written here. Sometimes it's too long, not attractive, not appealing. A lot of jargons, mathematical formulations are there. These basically distract potential readers to go through to read the title. And normally the examiners, reviewer also make comments if it is too much jargon, so much mathematics, so long. So in that case, they will make comments. So what we practice based on our experience, since I am also the supervisor, I suggest my students to come out with 3 titles based on their overall content, because students has prepared the work for so long, so they know the content. So once they give me 3 titles, these titles also based on the keyword. I think the keyword is the most easiest way to connect and then come out with the title. So I ask them, you write, some of the keywords which may be strong, which may be weak. So you write 8 to 10 keywords, and from there, since you have prepared this word, so you know some of the keywords are strong, some of them are weak. And also these are the things when they also read paper, write paper, when they go through literature, I think they also have seen keywords in the paper. I think from those papers also they can borrow some of the keywords and they can write 8 to 10 keywords. And from there, I suggest them to eliminate weak keywords, maintaining 4 or 5 strong keywords, and then connect them, write 3 titles. And since I am also involved and I am experienced, so after going through the 3 titles, actually after consultation with the students, with some tuning, with some improvement, actually we write a very good title. Normally in this case, examiners, reviewer don't make so much question. Also, actually the paper thesis will not be rejected due to title, but it is a good practice. So if you can write a good title, probably there will be the less comments from the examiners and reviewers. That is basically the idea. And also if title is also good, actually it may entice potential readers so that your paper will be cited. So as you can see, I have provided here one title, Thermal Energy Conversion in Nanofluids. So you see, it does not contain mathematical jargon. It is also not too long. I think this one, when in our area also, when we see a catchy title, actually, it also attracts us to go into a deeper, to read the paper, and as a result, probably we also cite other papers and others papers, and others also will probably cite our paper. So that's the one important aspect also I have noticed, that actually if catchy title, then it also attracts potential readers. Okay, I hope with this you can write better title with this practice. Then next part is the abstract. Is basically, sometimes it is called executive summary. Basically, you will be giving short and precise, clear indication what investigation has been done. It should not contain too much details of the experimental process and procedure, and most importantly, it should contain some significant results. So normally, new researcher, when I was also doing my master's and PhD, I also faced difficulties how to write a good abstract. Some journals like Amaranth, they come out with structure. That's what I have written here. And abstract basically has some component. So if you know all those components, then it will make your life easy to write in a structured, balanced, good abstract. So what's actually the component? You see, there are 4 or 5 components. So there should have some sentences or information on background. That is called background informations, motivation, purpose, so 1 or 2 sentences to convince the readers that this is important work. Then there should be objectives in 1 or 2 sentences. Some content should be on the methodology, and then most important element is actually the results and findings, concrete findings, and maybe 1 or 2 words also in the form of conclusions. These are basically the important elements. So if you know all the structure, actually you can put all the necessary elements there. Sometimes it's not structured, it's not balanced. Maybe all the things are only results, findings, so other elements are missing. So all those things are called imbalanced, not structured. This is some way to write abstract in a better way. Of course, practice is the best approach. Practice makes perfect. That's why I think there are supervisors, there are examiners, there are colleagues, collaborators to ensure that your abstract is good, your title is good, and so on. Basically, research is also a collaborative work. So then next part is the introduction. Is basically why your work is important, is to convince the readers that your work is important. So need for investigation, provide the context to convince readers that your work, why your work is important. Okay, so if you read, this is again, I'm giving you some of my experience. Prof. Khairuddin will share his experience, but in my view, it would be the best practice. I always suggest that follow a good model. Follow a good model paper. Okay, for example, you download a number of good quality paper from applied thermal engineering, applied energy, energy conversion and management, high impact journal papers, and you read the introduction part again and again. Then also you ask yourself, what is actually the introduction? If you read again and again, you ask yourself in your mind, actually, what is the purpose? What is the content? Actually, it will give you an answer. That the answer is actually the why this work is important. So introduction should actually highlight why the work is important, and very specifically, if we categorize, if we structure, this is my approach based on my experience. So if we put some of the contents on background and motivation, few paragraph, half pages, we can put some of the information on background and motivational information. So this will make your introduction better, structure, and sometimes also it is too lengthy. So to avoid that, if you put few paragraphs, some limitations also, I think this will help you to write a better introduction. And it also should contain objectives and scope. I will share how to write, because this is very important. This objective writing, objectives are basically the goal, purpose, aim. It's not only for this writing thesis and journal. I think we also have our objectives, goal for our life, for our academic life. we are going to submit a proposal, we are going to write reports. So objectives, goals, aim, purposes are very, very important. This is where many students even don't know how to write objectives. What is their goal? What is their purpose? Because if we don't know our goal, then we cannot reach at that target. So these are basically aims, purpose, goals, target. Very, very important. And I will share my experience with number of slides, how to write a very good way, in a proper way, objectives. Problem statement, novelty. So these are also important element in some universities. So I'm also examiner of many universities, Australia, Africa, Middle East. So I know that different universities, different requirement, different styles. So sometimes these are called problem statements, sometimes hypothesis, sometimes research questions. These are linked with novelties, objectives. So I also will present in that format, so that any types of what are the main important things that also need to be included. It's not only for Sano University, different universities sometimes write it in different ways. So everything will be there. Latest relevant references also should be there. And sometimes when we do some fundamental work, so where this will be applied. So in our case, particularly in engineering application, without application, actually it is hard to publish in good quality journals. So that's why I think that application is also important. You need to highlight where it will be applied. And particularly when you write also grant proposal, there are also sections that where it will be applied if it is a fundamental related research or grant. Number of applications also need to be highlighted. And also when we do some application related work experiment, we also need to highlight all those things. So this application part is also important. So now I'll be focusing on objectives, how to write smart objectives. Basically, in a very clear way, sometimes students, academicians, researchers want to make their dream. So, you know that we are going to write a paper for 6 months. So your objectives, your content should be such that you can achieve, you can measure. It is not, you have designed the experiment for 6 months, but your objectives should not be something like for PhD at this moment, because it is for 6 months. So it should be timely, it should be measurable, it should be attainable, it should be result oriented, timely. So it should be rational, it should be, we should not have a dream. For example, you are writing a paper, okay? So you should have clear-cut objectives, and it should not be like a dream, it should not be like a PhD thesis. Okay, so it should be very specific, write it clearly, meanings are clear, those are measurable, those are achievable, attainable, and there are at the end some results. So my experience will show you how to write this and how to achieve also. So best way, this is the thing actually we learned from undergraduate outcome-based education. This is called Bloom's taxonomy, educational pedagogy. Basically, this will also ensure how to write objectives. At the same time, objectives are written, but as you know, that some objectives are very low level, like classify, define, and in your research work, high impact journals, high quality thesis, basically your level should be very, very high. So that is called breadth and depthness. So to write a good objectives with depth and breadthness, I think this is one good idea called the Bloom's taxonomy. There are level at the lower level or bottom level called knowledge, and highest level called the evaluation. Okay, so in you writing your thesis objectives paper, high quality journal papers, you are aiming, actually it should be analysis, I mean the level 4 onward. Okay, application also can be. So these are the what actually you can see, for example, in evaluation, these are very high level. Okay, judge, measure, critique, okay, validate. So these are very high level. So those which actually will ensure your breadth and depthness, and as well as all those words also called, these are measurable, attainable. So if you write, if you pick some of this word, basically will help you to write good objectives with depth and breadthness. That is basically the idea to bring this Bloom's taxonomy here. these are some of the examples. As you have seen, we have picked the word, and it is always better to write objectives with action verbs. So that's why it started with to analyze. You see, this is taken from Bloom's taxonomy. This is level 4 and onward. Okay, to develop a mathematical model. So this is definitely a good level. Depth and breadthness is there. To develop a mathematical model is not an easy task. So this is master's level. This is PhD level, and also validation is not an easy task. So this will ensure that these are higher level. Breadth and depthness are already there. So then, as I highlighted, you also need to write a problem statement. So in a simple way, what I can see, why we do research. For example, we are working in the area of solar energy, photovoltaic energy. So we know that when sunlight falls into the PV panel, actually PV panels become overheated. Its temperature goes higher. Temperature is actually the enemy for the solar panel because it will degrade the efficiency. So this is a problem. This is the problem of the solar panel. So if there is a high temperature, the solar panel actually it will degrade the efficiency. So this is one problem. We also know sometimes efficiencies are also very poor. We also know when we apply new materials, it's also very expensive. So how to reduce the cost. So these are, in my view, called the problem. So these can be identified by proper research literature study. So this is in brief what is called the problem statement in the form of a statement. A problem statement is a current issue or problem. Actually, what are the problem in your research area? Through critical review of literature, by reading number of literature, and in consultation with the supervisors, actually you can identify what are the main problem. What's the problem that need to be solved? That's why you need to conduct the research. That's why you need to come out with innovative ideas and so on. This also sometimes called the objectives, focusing on the facts of the problem. So this can be also written in the form of by some question I will share. These are also called the research questions. So you can see now you have identified problem statement, and then you can write them in the form of a research question. And problem statement and research question also, there should be some solution. As you can see, problem statement, in addition to defining a pressing issue, is a lead to a proposal of a timely, effective solution. So probable solution also you need to highlight there. So that's another aspect. So research question, normally it should be started with some types of question like what, why, and how. This is one of the examples, so we write sometimes proposal, write your thesis, paper. So this is something I have taken from some of our proposals. You see the question is how variation of specific heat capacity, thermal conductivity, thermal stability and reliability with nanoparticle will take place. You see the how this will take place with the inclusion of new nanoparticles in the base materials. What is the physics and what is the mechanism behind the variation of thermal conductivity with some nanoparticles in base materials, for example? So what would be the hypothesis if nanoparticles are mixed with PCM, thermal conductivity? So this is basically hypothesis is something expecting what will be the outcome with this. So this is very important, addressing the novelty, originality, because without high novelty, originality, actually it will be very hard to defend your thesis, and also particularly it will be very difficult to publish in high quality journal, particularly Q1, Q2 journals. Editors, reviewers always will be looking for, even I'm supervisor, I always will be looking for, and also for collaboration. So normally when many people want to collaborate with us, first of all, I ask them what is the novelty, and even after a long discussion also, in most cases, new researchers, early career researchers particularly face these difficulties actually to express, to write, to identify this novelty. Actually, it is highly important. It is very important if you want to be a prolific researcher, you want to be a good researcher, you want to be a long-term researcher. Actually, this novelty always should be very strong, very high, and you need to do it systematic way. So again, this can be a high, marginal, useful, none, through actually the breakthrough high novelty, actually someone can publish in Science, Nature, high impact journal, and also sometimes if original novelty is not that strong, so it can be published in conference, seminars, and so on. So again, this will come through study number of literatures, and as a supervisor, we are also experienced. So we are working, for example, last 25 years. So we know the what's the research gap. So that's why I think that working with the supervisor is very, very important. Normally, the new students cannot come with the originality because, as you know, you need to go through a lot of literature study. So it's not an easy task. So that's why I study literature, work with the collaborators, and discuss with the supervisors to come out with the novelty, scrutinize more relevant papers. So these are some of the process to make it make the novelty stronger. And also in the introduction part, normally they highlight what has been done and what has not been done. Read recommendation, future direction of the article. Normally in the review paper, there is a specific section, future prospectus. Actually, a lot of directions are given. I think this is another easiest way, and that's also the benefit of the review paper. And that's why many people also read site review paper, because it is very convenient for the future direction to give a proper direction for early career researcher, new researcher, because some of the things are written and identified there. For example, by studying, by critically reviewing 400, 500 papers, actually, someone has done a great things for us. As I mentioned, discuss with your supervisors as well. So to address, so as I mentioned, it can be high, it can be marginal, it can be none. But it's going to be,
excuse me, Prof. Saidur, you have around 5 minutes left for your
okay. So I will finish by around 9 minutes. Okay, give me a little bit more. So that's called the wow factors. Actually, if you want to be a world-class researcher, I think you need to do the research. You need to work that actually is winnable, outstanding worldwide. For example, you know, the Elon Musk, his idea. For example, our chairman, Jeffrey Chia, he's one of the greatest entrepreneur. You see how his Sunway group is progressing. He has so many ideas. So this is what we call the a wow factor in business area, in running something. Okay. So in like in our case also, when we published in Science, Nature, impact factor 15, 20, I think that's what is called the wow factor. And also try to identify the global grand challenges through different conferences, different websites. For example, you can go into MIT specific departments, specific researcher, what they publish, where they publish. These are some of the ways actually to identify the global problem, wow factors, high level of originalities, and so on. So since time is short, I'll go a little bit faster. So this is how you see that you need to go through number of literature, as you can see, from 20 to 23, 28, 29. These are literature has been studied, and then some of the novelties are identified. So bullet number 2, 3, 4 actually clearly highlighted. Okay, so some of the gaps are identified through this critical review of literature, and it is very important. This is the way. Sometimes we see that researchers write only, there are limited literatures only. Nobody has done these things. Actually, you need to identify who has done what and what has not been done, so that you know that you have done it in a proper systematic way. You can convince the reviewers, you can convince the examiners, and so on. So this is another way. As you can see, there are number of references has been studied, number of parameters there, and most important things, finding, remarks, and limitations, as you can see. So there are basically some of the findings, and in the highlighted section, actually, these are some of the novelties, some of the research gap has been identified. So I like this way, but some reviewer does not like this way. They like in a text format. So it's up to you. If reviewer examiners like this, this is fine. If they don't like, then you can convert it into a text format. So you see, there are model does not well predict the measured transmittance. So this is one of the drawbacks. Maxwell model fails for all types of nanofluid. Okay, so these are some of the research gap has been identified through all this study of literature review. Then among this, you see, you have identified maybe 10 problems, and you are now addressing 1 or 2 problems in this paper, in this thesis. So this is called systematic way of identifying research gap. And if you identify this way, I'm sure I can guarantee that reviewer cannot ask that there is no novelty. these are not done. These are the things not done properly. And as a result, we are giving the opportunities, editors, reviewers, examiners to make the comments. Okay. I hope with this, you can write your novelties research gap better way so that there are minimum comments and it will go through very easily. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly. So I also have some content in YouTube, how to write review paper, original paper. So you can go through, and also I think Dr. Adarsh and Prof. Khairuddin also will be presenting critical review of literature. This is one important part. During any literature defense, you need to address, but due to lack of time, I cannot go, but at least this slide actually will tell you how to critically review literature. So it's also identifying novelty, at the same time also how you are critically reviewing the literature, strengths, weaknesses. Another important part actually when you write thesis, organization is also, the flow of material is also sometimes new researcher is very, very messy. So you mixed up different content here and there. So it is not a good approach. So as you have seen, there is a title. Once you have title, you have objectives. And then if you design, develop your methodology according to your objectives, I think then it will be proper flow of organization, proper flow of materials. This is the way. Okay, so let's say you have objective number 1. Now you design your methodology to achieve the objective number 1. How you are going to generate the data to achieve the objective number 1. So you have designed your methodology to produce the data. Then you have result and discussion and present accordingly. So this will make your whole paper well organized, coherent, and flow of materials will be good. So design of experiment and scientific methods, basically these are steps and procedure, particularly to conduct your experiment, to develop your methodology. So these are few steps, as you can see, from number 1 to 7. I will not go through much details here. So as you have seen, you have to identify a problem through proper literature study. That is, you have to read, you have to get advice from your supervisor, from your colleagues, from the review paper, and make the observation, develop a hypothesis, basically make a prediction. What is the hypothesis? Make a prediction about what will happen, some guess, and then plan how we'll test your hypothesis. Okay, that is by conducting experiment, conduct experiment, record. So it's, in our case, we are talking about the experiment. There are theoretical work, there are modeling work, there are field work, different way this can be, this hypothesis can be tested. And then basically you are producing data, results. I think Prof. Khairuddin and Dr. Adarsh also will present there, focus there, then analyze your data, summarize your findings. Okay, so design of experiment, I think at this candidature defense at early stage is very, very important. Again, how you can do these things. So literature study is very, very important. So that's why some good quality review paper actually will optimize your time, number of relevant good quality journal papers, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, or 10 papers, very specific papers. If you read them, the methodology part, how they, what are the parameters, what are the equipment, actually this will help you to design your experiment. Definitely, you need to engage your supervisors and other collaborators. Even when you work, basically, like in our case, we have PhD student, we have master student, we have collaborative partners. So basically, with collective discussion, collective meeting, and by reading literature, actually, one can come out with this design of experiment. Okay, this is what I have highlighted here. So you need to identify the parameters, variables, input parameters, output parameters, okay, dependent, independent parameters. So these are the things you need to identify to come out to design your experiment. So these are some of the things. So as I mentioned, whatever you are designing, always connect with objectives. For example, you have one important parameter, you have identified thermal conductivity of nano-PCM. So this is one of your parameters. Energy storage capability. So these are some of the parameters. Basically, you are trying to identify what types of parameters, what types of variable you need to identify, you need to control, you need to manage them. So that is basically this design of experiment. So one of them is thermal conductivity, energy storage capability. So in your area, maybe there will be some other parameters. So by reading the methodology part of the paper, discussion with the collaborators and supervisors, actually you can come out with the necessary variables, parameters, so on. So health safety issue, I think I'll not talk much all these things. These are very important aspect also. You learn these things. Operating equipment, sometimes new equipment, sophisticated equipments, you really need to learn them with the technician, with the other friends. You can also watch some of the videos, read manuals, because if you know the basics of operating the equipment, actually it will help you to produce good quality data. Otherwise, you may not know where error may happen. Okay, so I am close to my presentation. Azim, don't be worried. So this is very important. Sometimes students are given tasks, supervisors also plan something without thinking whether we have really. So that's why when we meet with our student, regularly meet with our student, when they present something, we ask, yes, this is your experimental design, this is your objectives. Have you identified equipment we have in the lab or not? Sometimes they answer that no, we don't know. Then it is really not good. So if you don't have equipment in your lab, for example, Prof. Khairuddin students, he selected, he designed an experiment, but his lab cannot support these things. Yes, of course, you can go outside, you can collaborate, but that also will take time. So why not focus whatever we have in our lab first, for example? So always identify what's the equipment, because to produce data, you need the necessary equipment. If you don't have it, then your design actually is a problematic. It may take long time and you will suffer at the end. So always try to see first what you have in your lab and then design your experiment, design your parameter according to your available facilities. Of course, some of the equipment maybe will not be there. For example, TM, FISAM, of course, you can use from other sources. That's the purpose of collaboration, because everybody will not have all the necessary things. So also at the same time, when you read methodology part, what are the materials, consumables needed, talk with the lab executive, lab technician, talk with your friends, read some of the published paper of your supervisors, the other students. Actually, each and every details are sometimes written there. So this basically will help you to identify list of equipments, necessary materials, consumables, and so on. So it's not only equipment, software, but also you need to identify relevant paper thesis. So how you can download, if cannot be downloaded. So actually you need the friends, collaborations, and with other people, those who have databases, for example. So you are writing a thesis, you are a PhD student, actually it would be good if you can download some two-way digital dissertation. So many universities don't subscribe. For example, University of Malaya subscribe, all research universities subscribe. So you can make friendship with them, one or two theses, for example, you can collect from them and you can use them as your model. You can check, you can verify how strong your thesis compared to all those world-class theses. As I mentioned, research is not working alone. You need to work. So as you can see, most of our students are working with students, UPM students, Taylor's University students. Our own student is basically collaboration, interaction with each others. Language is also very important. If you want to write, if you want to be a prolific researcher, as you know, you need to write a thesis, you need to write papers. So language capability, all these things are very important. So slowly you spend half an hour, 1 hour, you use a dictionary, you use a word, you use different ways. Now things are so easy, actually, just in a click, you can learn many things. So content similarity, I think these are very important thing. Sano has subscription, so link with the supervisors, they can give you the access. So these are very important things, and notes. So there are many other things, copyright, all those things also need to be learned to practice to write a good quality thesis. Okay, sample preparation, I will not go much, so I think you can learn these things. Timeline is also important when you give your candidates and defense. I think the timeline with some of the activities so that you can show your proper plan. Okay, so with the objectives, with the literature study, design of experiment, you can put them page 1, 2, 3, 4. After 6 months, what you are going to do. After 1 year, what you are going to do. And also you put some of the outcome at the end of certain period of time. You'll submit a paper, review paper, original paper, some seminar, and so on. So with each and every activities you put, for example, you will complete PhD on time within 3 years. So graduation on time, what I wanted to say that, for example, we give scholarship for our PhD student 3 years. So if it can be completed within 3 years, I think that is what I say. But it also can take 5 years, but necessarily, definitely not 15 years, not 10 years. That's what I say, try to say graduation on time. Okay, so strong analysis. So this is also very important to write a strong analysis. Always put the reasoning phenomena, highlight of originality, as I mentioned, validation, comparison. These are very good things. If you put in your paper thesis, actually, the examiners will be very, very happy. And this is also the very high level, as you have seen in Bloom's taxonomy. Error analysis, statistical analysis, those which we learn in our measurement technique. I think this is also very important. Results, figures, okay, this way. So will make your thesis very strong. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.